Well, on the note of you speaking on your grandfather being in the war, I have one titled, "What is your grandpa's war story?" My grandpa, the one I knew anyway, was born in 1939 in a small town on the coast of Norway, the fifth of 10 kids. Norway was occupied by the Nazis in 1940, but not so much of that was noticed way out on the coast. But sometime in 1943, the Nazis came to town looking for resistance fighters. They went house to house and eventually came to my grandpa's. He clearly remembered a small squad of 6 to 10 guys coming in and going through the whole house while his family huddled in the living room, scared shitless. During the course of the search, my grandpa's infant brother began screaming. My great-grandmother tried in vain to calm the child. She was convinced that the Nazis would just kill them for the inconvenience of a screaming child. A Nazi soldier came into the living room and walked straight to the crib. He looked down at my great-uncle and began to cry. Everyone was shocked. He reached into his pack and pulled out a wrinkled photo of another infant who looked very similar to my great-uncle. The commanding officer explained that this soldier had a son at home who he had never seen, but his wife had sent him this photo. The soldier then sat down with all the kids and shared his chocolate ration with them. It was the first time my grandpa ever tasted chocolate, and probably the last for a long time. He never forgot that, even through Alzheimer's dementia. He always told me that story to illustrate that soldiers on any side are just people dealing with their own trauma and difficulty. I hope I never forget it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a happy one, maybe-ish.
Kind of. I mean, my mom was a really big war person. She was always very fascinated by the world wars. And when we did a month-long Euro trip in grade 7, I remember we went to the concentration camps to pay our respect and just kind of take it all in. There's the Anne Frank story about her diary documenting her life hiding amongst Nazi prosecution in the occupied Netherlands. It was a huge story, and just, everything for that. And it just makes you think, like, the Germans, like the Nazis, like not all of the Germans were quote unquote Nazis. Like a lot of them had to fight for their country. A lot of them were conscripted to fight for the German side. Like that just happened to be the place where you were born. And now you have to go to war for your country, just like the Americans, the Canadians, every country you had to go to war. Did you know that it was the Nazi party? They were a political party. So that would be the same thing as like the liberals or the conservatives, or in the States, the Republicans. Like one party got in and grasped onto so much power, and that's how the Nazi regime started. I remember went down the rabbit hole a little while ago. It was very interesting. I never really understood what the Nazis were, and then I went down the rabbit hole, and it's like they were actually a political party.
Yeah, I think
and
I
they were
remember
to
learning that.
take over enough power, and the fact that they were able to do what they did. And there was a lot of like dark stuff. Like I remember there was something uncovered like by one of the pharmaceutical companies that is now one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies of the world. The fact that the Nazi party would send them like healthy females, and they're like, thank you for test dummies, please send us more, because all of them are deceased now. They instead of testing on rats, they were testing on humans. And like the slave labor for like the automotive manufacturers and stuff. Like there's so much dark history that they did at the time.
Jeez.
I just watched a TikTok the other day that was saying when American troops came to liberate one of the concentration camps, the fact that the bodies were just laid up, piling, rotting away, no care to them, and the Nazis of the concentration camp thought that they would just be taken in because they're surrendering, they'd just be taken in as prisoners of war. And the one of the sergeants or something just couldn't handle it, and he executed 560 Nazis in the concentration camp.
Wow.
And then if you think about that, you think about the nuclear bombs that got dropped on Japan. Japan got hit with 2 nuclear bombs and they didn't even commit exactly what the Nazis did, although I heard they did some horrific things to prisoners of wars too. War is dark.
Yeah, it is. It's very dark.
Human history is dark.
Yep. There's an edit to the prior comment. I wanted to add another story for the time that didn't involve my family so much, just to show the flip side of the coin. The town my family comes from is very small.